on in, guys. Come on in. Wow, what a morning. What a morning. Come on in, my peoples. Turn up my volume in my ear for a bit. This is gonna be a fun one, guys. This is gonna be a call-in show. I'm a bit lazy this morning. Got too much going on in my life. Man, I barely came to you guys this morning, but I knew I had to do something, so I'm gonna get you guys' feedback on this one today. There's gonna be some lessons learned, though. Gonna be some lessons learned for this one, and guys, just be available to hit the phone lines this morning because I want to hear from you all. I want to hear from you all this morning. Come on in, guys. Come on in. Let's get to this money. Let's have some fun. Gotta get the thumbnail going. I appreciate you guys for being here already this morning. Oh, God. Phone lines will be open in the first 15. First 15. Just want to level set first. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Shout out to the Black Heights family who's in the house this morning, man. Shout out to you guys. I appreciate you guys for being here this morning. I barely came to you guys this morning, man. I had one of those mornings that was very slow going. Lots going on in the Wade household, but we'll get to that later. I'll update you guys on that as things continue to progress. But lots going on in the Wade household, man, and we just pushing through it. But guys, it is Saturday, March the 18th. March the 18th, Q1 is almost over, guys. What have you done? What have you done thus far? And my man, Chef Capone just dropped us something in the chat just now. I appreciate the $10 super chat. He just says he wants to thank us for exposing him to the worlds of tech sales, and he received his first offer. I love to hear that, man. His first offer for a SDR BDR role. Man, I am proud of you, brother. Congratulations to you, my man. Congratulations to brother Chef Capone. Get ready to get to that tech sales money. Get ready to get to that tech sales money. Let's see who's all in the house today. We got our brother Tech Bag Trey. I just spent some time with Tech Bag Trey. Man, great YouTuber, great brother of ours, guys, man. Absolutely doing some wonderful things, getting to that money, man. I'm telling you like this, Tech Bag Trey had no idea what it was like to get into tech sales or to get into tech in general a year ago. And all of a sudden, he took the path to get into tech. And I'm going to put it like this, man. Tech Bag Trey is doing it, man. He's probably going to exceed 500,000 his first year. He's probably going to exceed 500,000 in his first year just getting into tech. Right. So he's going to accelerate his earnings and so forth just by getting into tech, guys. And I'm telling you something like this. We all need to be looking at career paths that's going to get us to the money. And I'm going to tell you like this. That's why I come on this channel often and talk about the different degrees, the programs and so forth. And I talk about my journey in the tech space and my recent journey of, 5 years ago, getting into tech sales. And how it's changed my life. Well, it's doing the exact same thing for brother Chef Capone. It's doing the exact same thing for brother Tech Bag Trey and many others. Jasmine, who's in the house as well, too. It's doing a lot of things for many individuals. People are getting to that money. They're learning that the tech space doesn't just require coding. Matter of fact, a lot of jobs in the tech space doesn't require coding at all. You want to get into tech, guys. I'm going to tell you like this, especially in the tech sales. Go ahead and check out Course Careers, www.coursecareers.com. Fastest way that you can get into a tech sales space, SDR, BDR role like our brother Chef Capone. You want to get into IT, check them out as well, too. If you want to get into, cybersecurity, check out levelcareers.com. Link into the description, guys. Guys, let's jump over to the people in the house. We got Tech Bag Trey in the house. Brother Big Damien is in the house. My big brother Damien's in the house. The Life of Cam is in the house. Brother Rich Turner is in the house. Good to see you, my man. Brother Paul is in the house as well, too. Journey to Jasmine is in the house. She's absolutely crushing it in tech sales, guys. I was just talking about her. I appreciate the super chat too, brother Chef Capone. JB is in the house. Do you offer promotion services? Go ahead and book a coaching session, my man, and we'll make sure that you are in the lining, or we will help you prepare for that promotion and help you get to start to think about positioning yourself for a promotion. That's what we do here at Black Heights. Brother Wrench Turner is in the house. I appreciate the $10 super chat, Brother Wrench. You can throw that in the screen already. Brother Wrench says, "Oh, the wood, good brother. I love it, man. On the wood, good brother. I love it, man. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it." I can't even read this morning, guys. That's how my vision's all messed up. But anyway, Casual Economist is in the house. Who else? Who else? Who else? All right, Miss Wade is in the house as well, too. Guys, don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to hit that like button as you come in. Okay, so I wanted to do today's show because, I started off the show talking about getting to the money, how Tech Bag Trey is getting to that money, how a lot of us in tech are getting to that money. And ultimately, when you start to get to the money and you start to grow up as an individual, you know that it isn't about you anymore. What I mean by that, you get married, you have kids, you know that it's not about you anymore, right? I mean, like this, at least that's how I position myself. I've learned that at a young age, from the time that I got married. I recognized that, the things that I do in life and the way how I have to position myself, it's not about me anymore because I'm responsible for a lot more people. I'm responsible for a lot more people. And the whole point of this show today is really to talk about implications, guys. When you go and you navigate in your career, you have to recognize that the moves that you make have financial implications on yourself, on your family, all the people that you support. It has implications on the company that you work for, the people that you keep in your circles and so forth. So I want for us to think about better ways or to look at other people's situation so that we don't make those same mistakes. I want you to think about other people's situations, and we've seen it multiple times. We've seen it from the athletes, entertainers, and I'm going to talk about an athlete today, but we've also seen it from people who are in tech as well, too. Most recently, it was a gentleman who used to work at Apple, one of the senior vice presidents of HR, and he said something when he was in his car when a gentleman walked up to him and, asked him what he did in his career, and he talked about he said something based on a movie reference, but it had a sexual innuendo in it, and he got fired out of his tech career working for Apple, making millions of dollars. We've seen it happen, right? So today, I'm just going to bring it back to the level of an entertainer, something that we can all understand, a basketball player and so forth. It's March Madness. And plus, I don't want to think too much. And I want to bring it down to that level to show you how your career or the things that you do have implications in many, many ways. And we should be learning from the mistakes of others. So if you guys don't know who Ja Morant is. So Ja Morant is a guard from for the Memphis Grizzlies out of Memphis. And he was most recently handed a 8-game suspension by the NBA following an off the court altercation that he had at a nightclub, right? Basically, he was in a nightclub and he was turning up, having a good time. You know how you young guys do it, man. And I was that guy as a young guy too, having fun and so forth, going to nightclubs, strip clubs, and all this other stuff, and having a good time, right? One of the things that he did though was he branded a gun inside of a nightclub, right? And that is against the law. You can't have, firearms inside of nightclubs and so forth. So the NBA suspended him. Okay. And he got suspended for 8 games. And the suspension comes and it causes a significant blow to the Memphis Grizzlies, who he plays for. Right. So you think about, a team that has invested into a star, because he is a star player. The guy is explosive. He's pretty good looking dude. He seems to come from a good family with his mother and father supporting him and friends and so forth. But he made a big mistake. And this is not only the first time, or this is not the first time that he's gotten into trouble. Okay. And his absence, his him being suspended, affects the team's performance because he's a leader on that team. He's one of the best scorers in the NBA, and it impacts their playoff chance as well too. So the incident sparked conversations around player conduct and the importance of maintaining a professional image both on and off the court for people who are in the NBA. And it's no different for us as well, too. We are in the tech space, right? The things that we do, whether we go to the strip clubs and turn up and so forth, the things that we do can impact the companies that we work for. The things that we do can impact the people that we were responsible for supporting. And that's the exact same thing with Ja Morant, right? And, with high profile athletes like Ja Morant, they're often under intense scrutiny because they are expected to serve as role models to fans and young players. I mean, it's just, when you are the face of the league or you're a basketball player, a big name, and you're on TV for, a good 40 something games, and you have a lot of people that invest and, go to games and, their kids are looking up to you and so forth. You're serving as a role model, even if you're at the age of 23 and you don't know shit at all. You are still serving as a role model. Now, is that right? I'm not to say, I'm not here to say if that's right or not. I think role models should be the people who are in your house, the people who are, almost on at, a level where you can actually touch them and so forth. Right. But, if Ja Morant is a role model for you, that's great. Right. I got to say it. Growing up, Kobe Bryant was a role model for me in the world of basketball. So the NBA and the Memphis Grizzlies, their organization, expressed their disappointment in the actions of Ja Morant. Right. He's on TV. He's on, social media, brandishing a gun, right? So, he really impacted his career a lot. And I haven't even spoke about the financial implications of it yet, and we'll get there. But during the suspension, what I read was that Morant was required to participate in anger management courses and community service. And this was a measure to help him learn from this incident to ensure that these things don't happen anymore, okay, or in the future, right? So that's the baseline, guys. That's where we're starting from. This brother, a fantastic basketball player from South Carolina, plays for the Memphis Grizzlies. He's a guard. He was suspended for 8 games. And you guys know the NBA pays their players per game. So 8 games for somebody who's making a whole lot of money is a lot of money that's impacting him. Okay. And he made a mistake. He made a mistake. And he came out and said most recently that he was sorry. Okay. He said that he was most recently sorry. And I believe that came out a day or so ago. But here are some key points that I want you guys to really think about, right? Here are some key points I want you guys to think about. His suspension will cost him a lot of money. You guys know, as an NBA player or as NBA players, their salary is based on the number of games that they play. And each game that is missed to a suspension is going to impact his overall pay, which impacts himself, impacts his daughter, impacts the people that he supports. Okay. The Memphis Grizzlies, guys, they may be facing short-term revenue loss because of his absence, right? If you are a star player for an organization, people are coming to see you. Kids want to go to the game to see you. Adults want to go to the game to see you dunk on somebody. That's impacting the organization's money, right? As he's one of the top draws, this is going to lead to lower revenue from ticket sales to the overall merchandise that's actually being bought for Ja Morant. The Grizzlies themselves, right? Their brand could be negatively impacted as well too, right? Because of the publicity and, choosing guys who are going to showcase this type of behavior. So, your personal brand is being your personal brand is being impacted. The company that you keep, the company that's responsible for employing you, their brand is being impacted. Their revenues being, will potentially go down because you're missing, right? They have to now invest in public relations efforts and rebuild his image. That's a huge investment on them. It costs a lot of money when you make these sort of mistakes, guys. And you have to think about, is this, what you want? You have to think about, is this what you want? Because again, it's no longer about you. When you come into these positions and, you have people depending on you, you have to conduct yourself in a way where these people can continue to depend on you. They can continue to depend on you. And if you don't, you're going to see how much it's going to impact you, and it's going to impact the others that are around you as well too. Okay. And you got to think about this for his future, right? This incident can potentially impact future contract negotiations. I mean, let's just say this guy is going to get 200 something million for 5 years, whatever it is. They're probably going to say, you know what, man, we've seen based on your past behavior, whether it's right or wrong, because some of you guys would be like, he's just 23. And I agree to that aspect of his age. But this can potentially cause for future contract negotiations to not be in his favor. Okay. So, this suspension is not only impacting him, but it's impacting his team. It's impacting, the opportunity for his team members to get to the playoffs, potentially win a championship and so forth. So, I just want for you guys to understand that there are consequences to your mistakes, right? His the consequences to his mistakes was financial consequences for both him and the Memphis Grizzlies, right? Mistakes in your career can have repercussions, missed promotions, damaged professional reputation, or even sometimes your ass can get fired in a tech space, right? We've seen that happen all too often as well, too. There was a couple videos on YouTube of, back in 2020 and 2021, where individuals would literally go to the office and record a day in their life. Well, HR got a hold of those videos and fired those individuals because you're not supposed to be, recording content inside of an office building, especially if that's your HR policies. So there's consequences to your mistakes. There's impact to your personal brand, right? A high profile individual like, Ja Morant, that this can harm his personal brand and his marketability. It's the same thing for you, right? When you make significant mistakes in your tech career, it can impact you negatively in your professional image, right? If you're that type of person that was like the Apple SVP of HR making those sexual innuendos and so forth, that can impact his career because people are going to be like, his judgment is bad. He's making $1 million a year, and all of a sudden that's stripped from under him, right? Other thing is, too, learning from your mistakes, guys. So in both in sports as well as your tech career, it is crucial to learn from your mistakes. And typically, you don't want to learn from your mistakes. You want to learn from the mistakes of others, right? And use those experiences to grow and improve yourself. And Morant's incident, it might prompt him to work on his impulse control and his communication skills, while, us that are in tech, we can learn from, learn new ways to prevent similar behavior from happening in the future. And another thing that this is impacting is also, you have to think about damage control, what the Memphis Grizzlies have to do from a PR perspective. And think about this in your eyes, if you were to make a mistake like this in a high profile position, or even in a position where you're just starting off for a corporation. Damage control. You have to rebuild trust, right? So Ja Morant, he has to rebuild trust for the throughout his organization. And you as a tech professional, if you were to have some sort of slip up, whether that's flirting with some woman or flirting with some guy or doing something you're not supposed to be doing, right? Going to bars and, slipping up at the, tongue when you're at a company event or something along those lines, you will have to potentially rebuild your trust to the, your team members or your teammates, your employer, your clients, and so forth, if that information gets out there. And it's important, guys. And this is where, when I heard about this whole thing, I was like, where is his mentors? Where are Ja Morant's mentors, his guidance, his coaches, and so forth, right? We need people in our corner that can help us with challenges that we're going through. Whether it's just him getting used to the league and getting all this money and being able to do and have a bunch of freedom because he's somewhat financial free, he can have access to a lot of things, maybe not to, people, that has more money than him, but he can pretty much have access to a lot of things, and money opens the door for him. And not only that, his fame and so forth, right? It opens the door for a lot of things, but it's important to have mentors and guidance in your life at all levels. His mentor or his father should have been like, hey man, you can't operate like that. Or his, coaches, hey, you can't operate like that, man. Like I'm constantly hearing that you are getting into trouble, slapping up high school kids, whatever it is. You got to put yourself in a better position, my man. Same for you guys. You're in your tech career. You're doing stuff that is pretty silly because you're just now getting to the money. You need to have mentors, coaches that you can rely on, that's going to give you the game, give you some insights, give you the support that you need, give you advice on how to navigate challenging situations to avoid them being costly mistakes. So guys, the impact can be big And I wanted to just draw some parallels to us in tech, right? Us in tech. And I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear from you guys about what do you guys think about Ja Morant, the mistakes that he's made. Is this common? Is this something that we're going to see in tech? Is this sort of a culture going to come into tech? I don't know. But what I would say is there's a lot to learn from this. And just because we are in the tech space, there's stuff that we can learn from his experience, even at the age of 23 years old or 24, however he is, that we should, take and say, this is how I should be able to coach individuals or what not to do, and even for ourselves, how not to conduct ourselves in certain situations. I want to hear from you guys. I'm going to open up the chat because you guys have a lot of thoughts on this. I am sure you guys have a lot of thoughts on this, and I definitely want to hear from you guys because, again, I'm not super close to it all, but you guys may have a perspective that I may not have, right? And you guys may have more information on this that I do not have. And I'd love to hear from you guys because you guys are a bunch of brilliant individuals. And I think you guys can add to the conversation. So I just dropped the Zoom into the chat just now. Come on in and mute, and I'll give you guys an opportunity to give your feedback on this and what you guys are thinking of this Ja Morant situation. When I think of Ja Morant, this is who I think of, right? A guy who, comes from a cool family, but this is what, he represents to a lot of people as well, too. The gold teeth, right? The guy who likes to have a lot of fun, right? The young high school kid that thinks that this is a good look, right? This is what a lot of people say that Ja Morant is. And people are sharing that this is just a culture situation right here, right? And I got to say this. I'm not going to excuse myself from being a knucklehead as a young kid. As a high schooler, early high school years, hip hop was it. 3-6 Mafia, right? No Limit, Cash Money. That was the music that I listened to during that time. But also, we grew up, and I grew up fast. So I'm not going to, say anything bad about our man Ja from the standpoint of, how he is as a young guy growing up, because I was a knucklehead as well, too. And it's part of a culture, right? But I look back at it, and I say this today. I say, it's a knucklehead culture. It's a knucklehead culture, and it doesn't get you far. And hopefully he can grow out of it, right? Because I'm very far from that today. And I'm happy that I'm very far from that today. When I look at, Ja just says, he's going through some growing pains at this point in time. And hopefully he can switch it around. Now, in fairness, I didn't have the guidance that he potentially has, father in a household and so forth. And he does. So you would think that, when you have this level of, discipline around you and so forth, these aren't going to be the same mistakes that you make. But apparently that's not the case. But either way, he did come out and apologize. There's a lot to learn from his situation because it can harm you. And you saw and you see that it's harming himself. It's harming his money. It's harming his family. It's harming the organization that he's part of. And if you were to do something very similar in its own little way in a tech space, it can harm you as well, too. So we got our first caller coming in, our brother Kamal Milik coming to us from Japan. And I want to hear what you have to say about this, Kamal. Come off mute and share with the audience. What are your thoughts on this whole Ja Morant thing and how it relates to how we have to conduct ourselves in certain situations whether we are entertainer or in tech, man. Go ahead and give us your feedback, my man.
Good morning, sir. Can you hear me?
We can hear you just fine.
Yeah. So I can say growing up, I came across a lot of people in my childhood and even young adulthood, the way that he chooses to behave and carry himself. But I will say, thankfully, since he's very talented, I think he won't be affected like an average everyday person would. But
Mm,
also, hopefully, he understands the seriousness of his actions since waving a gun around in a club
mm.
is not a safe action. And let's say he was drunk and carrying a gun, which is even worse. If it would have went off, what would have happened?
Could have hurt a lot of people. Could have hurt a lot of people, man. He certainly could have hurt a lot of people. He's under the influence of alcohol. Man, and talk about the people that you came around, Kamal, and were you influenced by this sort of a culture growing up? Because I got to say it. I was that guy that listened to, music of hip hop artists and so forth, and I was influenced. Now, was I a gun carrier? Absolutely not. Did I sag my pants? Absolutely not. Did I have goads? Absolutely not. But I was around guys who had that, and it was cool in where I grew up around that space. But talk about you. Did you grow up around this culture? Was this culture part of you? And give your feedback there.
I would say it wasn't who I was, but growing up in the inner city of St. Louis,
Mm,
definitely I saw a lot of people around me who were a part of that culture. And I will say I faced a lot of criticism and pressure to adapt to that culture. And it only became acceptable for me to be how I am just normally, like most people are, once I
mm.
left the area and kind of went away from it.
You said something. You said something. You got influenced to be a part of that culture, and when you wasn't part of that culture, you kind of was looked at a certain way. How were you looked at? Explain how you were looked at.
So mainly just being, well, I guess they would say being a nerd or being a lame or
Mm.
being boring, or like you said in one of your recent lives, being corny, like Michael B. Jordan.
So you grew up in the city of St. Louis. That's where I invest a lot of dollars. I love St. Louis, a beautiful city. And you grew up, in a culture where this was pretty common. Obviously, this look was pretty common. I'll go back to the look, guys. I'll go back to the look. I'll go back to the look. This is the Ja Morant look, right? Was common, and when you didn't, conform to this, people looked at you as being, corny, right?
Yes, sir.
Interesting, interesting. This is a culture. This is a culture that is out there, and I can tell you this right now. Come on, I'll share a personal story. Um, this wasn't me early on as well, too. I got to say this. It wasn't me early on as well. Going into my ninth grade year, I went to a school called Orangeburg Wilkinson. Great school, but a predominantly black school in South Carolina. And I was considered to be the nerd my ninth grade year and throughout school before. I did my work, man. I did my work. I was that guy that was straight laced, but my 10th grade year, I recognized something, as a young man who's starting to, really like the, girls and so forth. I recognized that the guys who looked like Ja Morant were getting a lot of attention. I recognize the guys who look like Ja Morant with the chains on and the goals in their mouth. They got a lot of attention, right? I'll go back to it. They got a lot of attention, and I had this girlfriend at the time, and she liked guys like this, although she was dating me. So of course, I lost myself after we broke up. Trying to be a guy that was cool like this. And ultimately went down the wrong path. Started skipping school, didn't do any drugs or anything like that, but started hanging out with, folks who were a little bit older than I, quit the football team, just wanted to be a knucklehead, right? And my sophomore year in high school, I ended that year with like a 2.3 GPA. And I had an opportunity to uh, leave that school because my mother got an opportunity to move to Wisconsin for a job. And I had an option to stay or leave. I chose to leave. And I went to a completely different culture, a different city in Madison, Wisconsin, where the population was completely different in high school, right? So the high school that I was at in Orangeburg was a majority black school. Then the high school that I went to in Wisconsin was uh, a 98% white school, right? And I was like, one of those black dudes that was at school, right? But the culture was completely different, right? Being that kind of Ja Morant culture, that wasn't cool for that school, right? And that wasn't cool, and that wasn't going to get you any of attention at all. And I recognized really quick that the world was a lot bigger than the subculture that I grew up I grew up with in the small town that I was from in ninth and 10th grade. So, that was a turning point for me within my life that really showed that, holy crap, man, like this culture, don't get me wrong, it's highly contagious, but it's not the rest of the world. And I recognized that really quick. And also, it's not the attention that you also want as well, too, because it doesn't open a lot of doors for you. It doesn't open any doors for you at all. So I had to change. And, I got back on the right track, long story short, graduate with, great grades and went to college and continue to evolve to be the person that's on TV right now. But looking back at it with a lens, I can see how people fall into this sort of a trap and how it's a culture that I'm going to tell you like this, guys, does not represent anything that's positive. You will see later on in life, when you look back at it, you're going to see a lot of those people who conducted themselves that way basically aren't winning. They aren't winning. And the people who dated those kind of people, they aren't winning as well, too, right? So I just wanted to share that with you guys. And I'm glad that you said it too, Kamal, about your experience and growing up in a culture like this as well, too. Anything else you want to say before I turn it over to my other guest that's part of the line?
Well, we'll say what you said is definitely true about pretty much just our communities that we grow up in are extremely small in comparison to the rest of the world. So we'll also say my first time actually in Japan was back in 2016 when I was 19 years old. And I did have several people that I knew who also came from similar backgrounds as myself. And they did try to do the same things here. And this is definitely not a place that you want to do those type of activities. And they definitely did not last long.
You guys better straighten up. You want to go far. You want to get into tech. I think the challenge is, I think people will have to really, really think about this if they wanted to get into tech. The question also that I'm starting to see too is when you start to get to the money, is this the culture that's going to exist outside of tech or in tech? I don't know. But I appreciate you for coming on, Kamal. I'm gonna turn it over to our brother Damien, who's been patiently waiting. And you go and enjoy the rest of your evening, Kamal. And great talking to you, my man.
All right, you as well, sir. Thank you. All right,
absolutely.
Take care.
Brother Damien, go ahead, come off mute, my man.
Hey.
Good morning, sir. How are you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I hope everybody else in the Black Hype crew as well as too.
Good, man. Good, man. So what you got on this topic, man, on our brother Ja Morant, tech space, and so forth, man? What do you got on the topic, my man?
I ain't gonna dig too much into the culture. Just provide an example. Man, I'm old school. I'm old fashioned. I grew up out in the country, so being different is comfortable to me. So I'm not too worried about getting Pookie points and all that. That never was anything that was attractive to me or any of the other guys I grew up around. We saw that gangster stuff in the inner city. It just looked gay to us. A bunch of dudes hanging around each other all day long. But anyway, I'll give you a quick example. Tupac went to a performing arts school in Baltimore, and one of his classmates was Jada Pinkett,
Mm.
and he even did some ballet there. So he started his entertainment career as a background dancer for Digital Underground. So if y'all don't know who Digital Underground is, Humpty Dance, Sex Package, real big act in the '90s. But anyway, that whole thug life stuff just came later on. He made those decisions. He could have took a different path and did things better, but you see the results of what his choices were.
Damien providing us a history lesson as that culture, this culture that Ja Morant is glorifying at an age of 23. Where does it get you? Where does it get you? Right? And he's using the analogy of Tupac, right? Had an opportunity to go in a completely different way, and he chose not to, and that caused his demise. That caused his demise, and you see it often. You see it often, and is this what you want for yourself? Ja Morant has a 23-year-old, or he's 23, and he has a daughter. It's not about him anymore. Is this what he wants his daughter to see? This is what he wants his daughter to grow up around. All right, that's the question that is out there right now, and I'm being very careful of navigating this space because it's not a space that I'm in quite often. But I want to bring attention to it because this is often very common within the Black culture. The hip hop culture, as I would say, or I wouldn't say the Black culture, more of the hip hop culture that it's really part of, because Black culture is completely different in my eyes. So, guys, you have nieces, nephews, cousins, kinfolks, and so forth that are like this. Be a mentor, be a coach, especially knowing that there's very few people that are going to get into a professional or have a professional athletics career. There's very few people that are going to become a rapper, right? I mean, when I say there's very few, there's one out of, I don't know, millions, but there are, it's very easy for you to get into a tech space and make a lot of money in your career. So you really have to choose, as a coach, mentor, guide to other people that are coming up. You have to give them the game on what's likely to happen. And it isn't this. It isn't what Ja Morant's doing, or it isn't his career, or it isn't anything like that. And when you have that sort of background, you're not going to get a lot of opportunities in your life. You're not going to get a lot of opportunities in your life, especially in the tech space, okay? What else you got for us, Damien? You got anything else?
No, sir. That's all I wanted to add to the conversation.
Awesome, man. Good to hear from you, my man. Good to hear from you, man. Tech Bag Trey, come on in, man. What you got on this conversation, Tech Bag? I know you came from you come from the country as well too, man. What do you got on this conversation, my man?
I did. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I mean, like you said, I did. I grew up in the country, man, but I did move to the city. And so I understand both sides of that.
Mm.
The only thing is with me, man, I know you said you didn't grow up with a father in the home, but I grew up with a father figure in the home, a stepdad. And so my parents, they didn't let me do a lot of that stuff, right? I had to have my pants pulled up. I couldn't wear my, clothes any kind of way. I still don't have piercings. I don't have any tattoos. They weren't having it. And so with that, a lot of the people who were around me, I saw that often. I saw the hip hop culture, and it is intriguing. But and personally, I just believe that a lot of the NBA's, sports players in general, I don't think a lot of them grew up in that life. Now, there are some, but most of them, I feel like they grew up like me, right? It's adjacent to, like, you were there, but you weren't really in that action. You weren't really in that life because people will see you and they'll kind of shelter you out of that so that you can actually make it out. And I think it's one of those things where, okay, I got all the money now. I got, all the attention, everything that I ever wanted. I can go and buy all the grills I want now, or I can, all these things that they probably thought of like, man, you're right there in it and you want to do it, but now you actually do have the access and can. The unfortunate thing is, yes, he's 20 something years old. Yes, that plays a big part in it as well. But the unfortunate thing is, the saying is true. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. And so when you are in these positions where you have younger people looking up to you, not just your family, right? It's one thing if it's just your family, they know you intimately, but you have thousands and thousands of young individuals who are looking up to you and are willing to do what you say, or willing to follow that path because you accomplished something that they want. And so you have to you gotta carry yourself in a certain way after that, unfortunately and fortunately, right? So you can't do everything you want to do. You aren't no longer, you hear people say, hey, it's my life, I can do what I want, whatever. Unfortunately, you can't. It's no longer your life because you now are living for others. In his case, he has a daughter, right? So he can't afford to live how he wants. I think I read somewhere he inked that Powerade deal a few days before that came out with the gun. They rescinded it. Like you just messed up that bag over what, but that's one of those things. You are young, so you got to go through that, right? But now maybe when he's older and some more younger people coming to the NBA, maybe he can shed that light on, hey, young fella, you might want to slow down. This is what happened to me. I lost millions, right? That's just what I was thinking about when I saw this come out.
No, man, you hit on some big things there, Trey. So you got to tell me this, man. You got to tell me this. All right, you being adjacent to it, right? So you've seen it. You were sheltered from it. A lot of people guided you, and why do you think this culture is so contagious, man? Why do you think this culture is so contagious? Because I got to say it. I fell into it. It was literally. I can tell you why, in my opinion, and why it happened to me is because I wanted something that these guys had, right? That was the attention, right? I wanted the attention from something that these guys had. And that's the reason why I kind of lost myself in that space. But tell me your opinion there.
No, it's pretty close to what you just said. When you think about it, I'll just stick to the Black community, right? Why do most people in the Black community, why do they want to be entertainers? Why do they want to be ball players, of the sort, active? Like, why do they want to be those things? Because those are the people who they see that have the things that they want. So I think if we can shed this light on the tech industry, if we can, show like, hey, you don't have to do that, right? Also, I'll bring in, right? You also have the drug dealers and those people as well, right? You see those things growing up, and it's like, man, they have everything I want. They got the cars, the money, the clothes, the women, right? Or whatever the case may be. I'm gonna try and go down that path, and I'm gonna be the one who does not get caught. Which, I mean, come on now, we all know where it ends. The real one. Where it ends. But nonetheless, I think that's what it is. You see those people, you see what they have, you want that, you don't see it anywhere else. Well, this is the path. I got to do this to get those things. So if we can shed the light and show like, hey, you can make $1 million in this industry and not be looking over your head, looking over your back every 5 minutes. I don't have to be sweating bullets when the police gets behind my challenge or whatever it is I have, because I'm scared they're gonna pull me over. You pull me over, hey man, I'm gonna be leaving in 2 minutes because you're not gonna find anything.
Yep.
Right. So so there are different ways. Well, I think we just have to be exposed. Exposure leads to expansion. And so if we can expose the younger individuals to different ways of getting that money and different ways of enjoying a life, then I think it will help with that.
You know, in Trey, man, you're saying some really fantastic stuff, man, and it's absolutely true. Right? I love the fact that you said exposure leads to expansion. And tell me this, right? So, you most recently got into tech. You know, and you had not. When you and I spoke earlier this week, I understand that it wasn't something that was on your radar. You know, early. And tell me why it wasn't on your radar.
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't know about anybody else. I can only speak for myself.
Yeah.
Growing up, tech was not on my radar because anytime I heard tech, I immediately equated that to coding, and coding to me was hard. It was out of my range. I just didn't think that I could do that. So I heard about the money you can make in tech. I heard about, right, the opportunities, how inside of Google headquarters they got beds for naps and all. Like I heard about all that, but I immediately went to, oh, that's coding, that's hard, I don't even want to think about it. That's not my lane. And so
Mm.
I never even explored it. So that was the main thing for me.
So, you know, with you being in tech now, and with me having this channel and having a lot of trying to expose that you can get to the bag and make. Now, I'm not going to say you can make Ja Morant money. You can make more, but like this, you can make more than Ja Morant, because you think about somebody like Tim Cook, right, who's the CEO of Apple. Guy is worth over 1.8 billion. You're talking about the Steve Ballmers. All these guys who end up buying teams. A lot of these people have fortunes and have built their fortunes from being in tech, right? So it is a place where you can get to the bag and you can make a lot of money. I'm talking about, you even think about Robert Smith, right, who owns Vista Equity Partners. He got his wealth from tech as well, too, and he earns a lot more than a person like John and so forth. And I'm not going to say I make, over 225, but but like this, I probably have a lot more a chance to succeed there if I become a CEO one day and work really hard, right? But tell me, what are some ways you think that we need to be able to provide that level of exposure to the younger individuals who like to see this, right? Who really like to see let's get it right. What I'm showing right now on Ja Morant, like what are ways that we in tech who have the money, who make the money, can get the younger generation to say, hey, you know what, this is the path that I really want to take, and get away from this hip hop sort of culture. What's your thoughts there?
Yeah. First, I'll say this as well. A lot of times, if you're actually ever able to sit down and talk to some of these individuals who are in this life or in that type of life for real, it looks appealing, but they will tell you firsthand, they don't want to do that. A lot of them, they didn't have that option, right? If they wanted to, they would do something else. But a lot of them, sometimes the environments that they grow up in, they just don't even have the option. So they're doing what they can to survive, but they don't necessarily want to do it. They just know they have to. So that's number one. But I would say too, everyone is different, right? You have some people who they might see that flashy lifestyle and stuff like that. They have no intentions of doing that with the money. They just know that, hey, I can get this money and then I can go and do with it what I want. So I would say definitely getting out there and being a content creator if you're in the space, or doing that so that you can expose your specific, true, authentic self. Right. So if you're not the flashy individual, you don't have to be that. There are a lot of people who would say, hey, I love the way that he's able to have that money and spend it on his family. Right. Or it seems like, man, every quarter they're going to somewhere crazy. I would love to be able to do that. They're in the tech industry. Let me get in there. Now, there are people who, hey, they wanted the Lambo before they even touched the age of 5. And that's what as soon as they got the tech bag, that's what they went and got. And that's going to draw certain type, or, certain individuals who also had that dream or whatever. But I think it's just being able to be your true authentic self, and then if it's one-to-one or one-to-many through content creation, showing that and then allowing that to be the drawing factor, right? Sometimes I know me when I was coming up, I didn't know what these individuals did, but one of my first jobs was at Best Buy. I'll never forget. There was a time where my mind was it was discombobulated because I'm like, I was at the front counter and I was checking this guy out, and he walked up in some thong flip-flops, a wrinkled, dingy white t-shirt, and some shorts, right? But he was paying for his stuff. He pulled out the black card, and yeah, I was like, oh, snap, right? So it showed me right there, like, I don't know what this guy did, but I can't be judging everybody because it don't matter what he looks like. I know he has some cash because you got to spend a certain amount just to have it.
Right.
So that right there, that could reframe somebody's mind that, oh, wait, I don't have to dress up to have money. I can walk around in a wrinkled t-shirt and still, like, so it's just, that's the main thing I would say, just being your true authentic self. And whether it's one-to-one, anytime you see somebody being able to share that light, or one-to-many through content creation and really exposing people to, the tech industry and whatever we have going on.
I love it. Hey, stick around too, Trey, because I want to dive in a little bit more into that. If you got some time, stick around. I'm gonna let Russ, who came on, good, perfect. Stick around.
For sure.
I want to let Russ get an opportunity. He comes on to us as well to give his feedback. Russ, what you got to say, sir? Come off mute, my man.
Hey, what's going on?
How are you doing today, man?
I'm blessed. How about yourself?
Doing fantastic, man. Doing fantastic. What you got on this situation, my man, Russ?
Man, I appreciate this topic being a discussion this morning. I would say for myself, like, I never grew up in the country, but I grew up like in the middle class environment. So with middle class in general, I was never straight poor, but I was never rich. I was just making ends meet, growing up under a single mother household. I can see how most young Black men can be influenced by like social media, by rap, by hip hop. And sometimes like there's like people that if you're not from a certain area, you get looked at as soft, you get looked at as not being able to carry yourself a certain way. That will make people want to, that will make young men want to do things that aren't who they are. Which it leads to a misguided type of direction in life. So I can see that, but really just also I do see a pro at the same time as far as upon making mistakes, which is very bad. It's a learning lesson, and I really do hope it is a learning lesson for Ja, that he can learn from it and just change his environment, his ways, because it all really goes down to how you think. And once everything starts flowing in motion, I feel like it's a big learning lesson going forward.
I think it is too. I agree with you. I certainly agree with you, Russ. Right. So, something that you said, right? Well, first of all, let me ask this: are you into tech, Russ?
Oh, yes, I am. Yes, I'm actually in the process of taking course careers right now. I can be quite honest. It's been a journey. It's been like a month and a half. I've been having days where I have high motivation. Some days are low motivation because I'm in the process. I'm like 70% through. But right now, as far as applying for jobs is a job itself. I didn't know that it would be this. I thought by looking at all the testimonials, I thought it would be a very easy process, but everyone has different paths and different experiences, so I can't compare myself. But yes, I am taking the course careers. So I'm glad that you've been dropping the videos very frequently. It's been very motivating, as well as tech back Trey. So yes, I'm in that process right now.
Good stuff. And I would just tell you this, and I'm gonna deviate just for a little bit. And Trey, if you want to add in to anything on this, you can come off mute and give it. I'm deviating, guys, from the channel just a bit, or the topic on the channel. I love that you said this, Russ. You should not compare yourself to others, because what I would tell you this as a career coach, it's not easy to get a job no matter what. Right? Maybe in 2020 and 2021, it's easy. It was a bit easier to land a role because so many people were hiring. right? You got the Facebooks and the Googles and all of these companies are really, snapping up people and bringing them in. And some would even say at this point in time, they were hoarding talent so that other industries were not able to get to it. But prior to that, it was never easy to get a job unless you have really good connections and have demonstrated your skills prior. So for people who are going through course careers, as a career coach, I'm going to give you guys a little secret. Okay, if you want to break into the tech space, you want to break into a sales development role, right? One of the things you have to do is put in the work, like Russ said. It's a job to apply for a job. And you have to spend the time applying for jobs. And it's just not apply, go, apply, go. No, it's not dropping your resume off or your application off and going. You have to put in the work. And I'd like to give the my clients to say you should be doing 10 applications a day. And if you do 10 applications a day, yes, you're not going to be as motivated. It's going to hurt. It's going to seem like it's the worst thing that you're going through. But I'm going to tell you like this, after week 3 of 10 applications a day, I guarantee you probably have had 3 to 4 different interviews. And that is a snowball effect. And ultimately, if you do that enough, you're going to land a job within a month and a half. So the people who have gone through course careers and have put in that work, they have landed a job within a month. I'm going to tell you like this. These guys were doing 12 applications a day, 13, 14 applications a day. Just know that pain that you're going through in applying, it's only temporary because somebody's going to give you an opportunity. Somebody's going to give you an opportunity. So I just wanted to share that with you guys as well, too, because yes, a lot of you guys are going through course careers. A lot of you guys are looking to get into tech. It's not easy. And nobody ever said it was easy. It is a hard thing to be applying for a role. Is it harder than going to your local Amazon distribution center and applying for a job? Yes, a lot harder. And it also pays a lot more as well, too. So you have to just put in the work, get it done, and ultimately you give it a month of doing what I said, 10 applications a day, networking, trying to get the recruiter on the phone and trying to get the hiring manager on the phone, doing the work. You will find a job in no time. Okay, so I just want to give you that, Russ.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. So anything else you wanted to add to the topic, Russ?
Man, that's about it. I just hopped on. I seen you were live. I just wanted to be I'm glad it's a very open discussion, and I just want to right now I'm 26 right now, so I'm very young myself, still growing, and I just want to be able to express it to any other young Black man that any mistake, big or small, there's still a bright future ahead. And I feel like a lot of times that when we make mistakes, we let that mistake just define our whole destiny going forward, which it can change the trajectory a lot of times. And I played victim a lot of times by letting previous mistakes affect my present. And I just want to be able to express that I feel like mistakes are more so lessons to strengthen your inner character. So that's what I want to share.
I love it, Russ. I something you said was Ja will be able to bounce back from this. Absolutely. He's too talented to not bounce back from this. But one of the things I just want for us to do is something that you said, right? We can make mistakes. We have to learn from others' mistakes so that we don't have to deal with them ourselves. Because ultimately, when you make mistakes that like this, these are scars that last a long time, and everybody can see those scars, right? And these are scars that are preventable, right? It's almost like the scars of, of somebody saying, hey, you know what? Don't put your hand on that stove, but you choose to do it anyway. Right. And those scars are the ones that are preventable, or ones that people look at sometimes and say, what's really going on? What's really going on? And hopefully whatever that is for Ja Morant, he gets it figured out. And if it's something, for us that's in the tech space, if there's something going on, hopefully we get it figured out as well. But I love that you were able to come on, Russ, and share your story, my man. I appreciate you, my man.
No problem. I will definitely keep on listening. Thank you. You have a great, wonderful weekend, sir.
You too. I appreciate you, Russ. Thank you so much. We got Brother Roe in the house, man. Go ahead, come off mute. How you doing, brother first row, Mr. Billy?
I'm doing really, really well. How's it going this morning, brother?
I am doing fantastic, man. Good to hear from you, man. I owe you a phone call, man. What do you have on the topic today, my man?
So much, but I think really it comes down to with the situation with Ja, and even with tech or real estate, no matter what it is you're going into, it's important to have the right circle of people around you. I remember, oh man, I just forgot her name. The track star who got banned from the Olympics because she was suspended for smoking marijuana.
Yeah.
I remember having a conversation with my friend about that, and it was like, she didn't have the people around her who would be willing to tell her no. Like, you got things going on. You don't need to be posing with a gun. You don't need to be smoking weed. I think that is so important, and a lot of times it's lost when you grow up in, especially growing up in a neighborhood like I grew up in, where you see a lot of people getting fast money, but you don't see how they're getting it and the overall cost of getting that money, whether that be the stressful nights, worried about somebody kicking your door in, shooting up your household, just kind of having that paranoia that you have to carry to get that fast money. And so it along with mentorship, it's about the circle that you have around you. I have a pretty high level accountability circle that I roll in. And so whenever I make decisions, they are quick to chime in, solicited or unsolicited, because, let's be honest, sometimes we just don't want to hear, like, I don't want to hear that I'm making a bad decision. I don't want to hear that this could blow up in my face. But people who truly love you and care about you will tell you when you're doing right, and they'll tell you when you're doing wrong. And so the way we move away from that life, and really when you talk about like the hip hop culture, the way we move away from that but still embrace it is by having people who understand the balance, having the people who say, yeah, there are drugs that are being sold around the neighborhood, but you don't have to be a part of that, and you don't have to edify that. There are people who have made millions of dollars selling drugs, but there's other ways you can make millions of dollars. I didn't get to see the name of who was speaking earlier about being in sweats and a t-shirt. But I remember when I worked for Wells Fargo Bank, I was probably like 18 years old. And this guy comes through my line. I'm a teller. This guy comes through my line, and he's doing a deposit, depositing some checks. And he has like $16,000 in checks that he's deposited. I'm coming from the hood. That's the most money I've ever seen deposited in my life. and so he deposits the money, and he's like, wait a minute, I'm missing. I thought I had 32,000. Why am I giving you 16,000? And he goes back. He's like, let me go back really quick. I'll be right back. He runs back to the 10-cent copy machine, and he left one of his checks on the copy machine, a $16,000 check on the copy machine. Wow. And I'm like, what do you do? Because I know they don't write checks for moving weight. So he's like, oh, these are just some real estate deals that I've closed out, and these are my commission checks. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know how I'm going to get to that, but I'm going to figure out at some point how to get to that point in life. And then to piggyback on your networking, whether it be for a job or whatever it may be, your network is your net worth. There's no way around it, because there's opportunities that are out there that you'll have no line of sight to, that requires a network to gain sight. And so I think about a transaction that we're potentially working on right now with a real estate investment opportunity. And I wouldn't know about that if I didn't have the connection with the realtor that I work with out here in Utah. But because I have that connection, and because I've shown that, hey, look, I'm really serious about investing in property, this opportunity comes up, and it's something that I would have had no knowledge of. And now I have knowledge of it, and we're going to potentially make an offer on this potential investment property. So that network aspect, if those are the three things I want to drop today, it would be, hey, mentorship is important. Your circle is probably even more so important, because they hold you accountable to whatever you are being mentored on. And then lastly is that network component. So that's what I wanted to add today, Brother White.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Tech Bag Trey, come off mute real quick. And Billy, stay around. So
yes, sir.
You said something, Trey said something as well too. He said, hey, saw a guy come in at Best Buy. He had flip-flops on, a shirt that was wrinkled as all hell. You said you was at, Wells, and a guy came in with a $16,000 check, right? And you know, he thought it was going to be 32,000, and he went and got that other 16,000. You're like, man, this guy's getting to the money, getting to the money, right? You know, how is it that you know, this way of getting to the money can be shown, right? Trey said, hey, content creation. I love that. Absolutely. Absolutely. Content creation is good and meeting people where they are. But what do you guys have to say about the people who don't want to show it, right? But they also want to make an impact, right? Like, I think about myself. Last night, I took the family out to a nice little steak dinner, and it's a fantastic steak dinner. And I did a little bit of recording, but it's an effort to record, you know, content about the things that I would consider to be pretty normal in my life. And don't get me wrong, the bill was, $500 or, around there. And it's probably was something to show and, me stunting and stuff like that. But what if people don't want to do that? So how else is it that we can demonstrate that you can, make a lot of money? Because ultimately that's what it's about a lot of times for these people who actually see images of Ja like this and the golds and the teeth and the having fun. How else is it that we can demonstrate, that these are lucrative careers and lucrative spaces that we can be in? Because Trey, you are in tech. Billy, you've been in tech for a long time. Give me your opinion there.
Go ahead, Brother Trey.
Oh, okay. Yeah, man. It's an interesting concept right there, which is what you're saying. That's a hard one, right? Because if you don't want to, then now it becomes, that's one I was talking about earlier, where it's more on a one-to-one, right? You might have those rare blips of individual who they see you or they see something you just did, and it causes them to wonder, right? And then if you're like Brother Rowe, he's gonna ask, "Hey, what do you do?"
Yeah.
Or they're inquisitive on those, and then you can quote unquote share that testimony there, or maybe spark that light. So it would be something like that, I guess, just on a one-to-one basis while you're out doing what you do and being able to share it through you just living your life, not necessarily showing those few moments where things are happening and showing it on camera. You can just do it on a one-to-one basis, and it will still get out, right? Like no matter what you're doing, there's always somebody looking. There's always somebody watching and taking account, and really that goes back to what I was saying earlier. Your life is really not your life, right? You can choose to live like that, but you can cause some damage because people are watching, and young people especially, because they're looking for ways. The society that we live in today, there's not a lot of fathers around. So as men, and women as well, but as men for sure, there are people that are watching you as a figure. And so just by you living and really showing, just showing a different aspect, right? The fact that you said you were out with the family and were able to spend the $500 on dinner, somebody, some kid, some younger individual might have saw that and like, man, I want that someday. And if they have the guts, they might walk up and they might say something or ask you about it. And that's where you can, kind of give that. But I don't know. It's tough. That's a tough one.
I'm hearing you. I am hearing you, Brother Trey. And Billy, you want to add on to that? Anything you want to add there?
Absolutely. It is difficult for people who are not interested, like you said earlier, brought back a classic word, Brother Wade, stunting. But
they don't use that anymore, right?
No, I don't think they use that no more. But I know what you're talking about. But it is hard when you don't want to stunt, and that's where I am. It's like I'm pretty financially well off. My family is financially well off, but I'm not boastful about that. I don't really brag about that, and I have no real desire to, honestly. But this is where, like, when it comes to content creation, it's about not necessarily boasting or bragging. It's about helping people build foundations. And so, for instance, one of the things that I'm doing right now is helping people build their financial foundation in the sense of, okay, what is it to have a budget? What is it to save? What is it to invest? What is it to establish credit and maintain credit and understand that credit game? That's where I'm helping people get the disciplines that once you do have financial means are going to be beneficial to them. The other aspect, though, I think, especially, you know, Brother Wade, you being a father, it goes to our kids. There's ripples that come from us through strangers, but to our kids, what we impart in our children is what they begin to normalize, and that's what they're going to display to others in the community. I have nephews who just lost their father. They look to their Uncle Billy as like, okay, you're kind of like, you're the next in line to kind of teach me about manhood, to teach me about finances, to teach me about being a provider and being a protector. You're that person we're looking to for that. And so it doesn't have to be in this, you know, in this Hollywood fashion that we display these things. There are simpler ways, I think, that we can display them in which the ripples will impact. And then lastly, I always recommend building a community, because I'm one person. I can impact probably in my lifetime 1 million people. But when you start looking at the community that I've established over the years and the wisdom that I impart to that community and glean from that community, now all of a sudden it's my impact and the community's impact, which is millions and millions and millions of people versus just me impacting 1 million people. And that doesn't require me to show any receipts. I mean, that's the reality. That doesn't require me to show any receipts. Trust me, I have receipts, and you know me, Wade, I'm data driven. So show me the receipts.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I can create the community and create the space for people to feel comfortable to come into to get what I have to offer. So that's what I would add to that.
Love it. Love it. Love it. You know, very, very, very good. You know, it's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. I think, I'm going to do my conscious effort to stunt on them a little bit more.
and that's, hey, it's nothing wrong with that, right? Like, and the reason I say that, if you're doing it in a way where that's something that you know why, you know your why. It's, hey, I know that this is what they want to see. Let me give them a little bit of that. Let me sprinkle a little bit of it just so I can impart, right, the wisdom, the knowledge, the game of how to get to it in a better way than what you're currently seeing. So yeah, every now and then, hey, yeah, I need to show you this. Yeah, this was all paid for through tech or whatever the case may be, right? Or yeah, I might pull up in a little something, you know, and then let you know.
I love it.
What I'm doing to get this.
Absolutely.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, and it's just I would say this, and Chef Capone and Brother Damien, I'm going to give you guys the mic in a quick second. You know, I just found that aspect of it to be very gosh, I love my privacy, and there's a balance, like you say, Brother Trey. There's, you know, a sprinkle, just a sprinkle bit of here, sprinkle bit of this, and you know how if you're building a brand in a community like Brother Enroll just said. You know, you can impact a lot more people, and it's, you know, little things like potentially, you know, me taking my family out to dinner, not to show the receipt of what the steak dinner cost. It's not about that. It's more about just me doing that, being able to take my family out to a nice steak dinner on a Friday night when, you know, it's St. Patty's Day. Most people are probably outdoors, probably sitting in the house or whatever it is. It's meeting people where they are, and showing another aspect would certainly help. And I love you. I love that you guys shared that with me. And also it's giving me it will take me out of my comfort zone of showing little things. Hey, you know what? Like, this is what you can do if you have, you know, a tech bag, you know, and this is what tech has allowed to me to be able to do, and so forth. I'm gonna switch gears real quick second, because we got our brother Chef Capone that just came online, and Brother Damien that wants to add to the conversation as well too. Brother Chef Capone, go ahead, come off mute, my man, and give us your your thoughts on this topic, or what is it that you wanted to add to the conversation, my man?
Hey, Antoine, can y'all hear me?
We can hear you just fine. And by the way, congratulations for landing that role in the tech salesman. Congratulations to you, my man.
Hey, appreciate it. But yeah, what you all been talking about as far as community, that's the biggest thing. In my immediate circle, I got a crew full of bag chasers. I just transitioned to tech sales. I have two buddies of mine who are both mechanical engineers. I got a buddy of mine who just got his MBA in data analytics. And I got another buddy who's in his last year completing his computer science degree, looking to go into cybersecurity. And the biggest thing is I have two young kids. They're starting to have families and children of their own. And I'm telling them, hey, unless they're going to go to school for engineering to be a specialized doctor or a lawyer, man, they don't waste your money on college unless it's something that you will see a high return on investment. And tech is just one of those avenues to where whether you go to school for it or you take a boot camp or just have transferable skills and can network really well, it's really easy to get a nice size bag early on in the entry level role. That's the biggest thing.
A nice size bag. and guys, I'm gonna tell you like this, right? It's when Chef Capone is talking about a nice size bag. I'm talking about like more money than the average person in the United States. I mean, and it just opens you up to a new way of thinking as well too. It really opens you up to a new way of thinking whenever you get into tech and you see how, first of all, you get exposure to a lot of people who are making a significant amount more money than you are. And you get exposure to a lot of people who are wearing those flip-flops and those wrinkled shirts and people who choose not to dress like that, people who are in suits and suited and booted, and they may spend their weekends, dressed like I do or something along those lines. But there's so much more exposure than what you think that exists out there coming from some of these small communities or inner cities and so forth, that you can really take a lot of insight from and use it to capitalize, whether that's, starting a side hustle and so forth, and make a lot more money than you are in your W-2 job. So I love that you said that, Chef Capone, and a big congratulations to you, my man. Brother Damon, you had something you wanted to add as well too, my man. And stay here, brother. Chef Capone.
Yeah, I heard a couple stories, folks talking about the exposure and being who you are when you're in public. I'll tell you a personal story. I was probably 12, 13 years old growing up. I was outside mowing the yard during the summer, and this black guy came by, and I'd never seen this guy before, never seen his car. Real nice Cadillac, him and his wife. They were probably early 50s. But I remember very well, he looked like Colin Powell. But anyway, he told me he bought some property down the street and he was looking for somebody to mow his property. I was like, yeah, I'm the guy. I'll mow your property for you. But anyway, I got to know him a little bit. I was like, this guy ain't even from here, bought this property. And it just, the wheels just started turning. So I asked him a little bit more, like, what do you do? He worked for NASA. He was in finance. I can't remember today exactly what it was, but I was like 13 years old. But I mowed that property for him all summer long, and he ended up selling it. He would come by every couple of weeks, pay me. And when he sold that property, he told me he made $14,000 just, a couple months doing some fix up on that property. And, that was kind of the end of our relationship. But I remember to this day, exactly, just having that exposure. This guy was just being himself, him and his nice, lovely wife, early 50s. But that just, that little hole, that little light just showed me like there's different ways to get that money.
It's true. It is true. It is absolutely true. And the piece that I love about that story, Damien, is he was just doing what he does on a typical day. And like Tech Bag Trey said, people are always watching. And I think they're just, in my opinion, maybe it already is out there. Maybe it's just the fact of the matter is that a lot of the stuff that are shared on TV is not the good stuff, and not those stories that a lot of people are telling about people getting exposure and going the other direction. Maybe that's what it is. And maybe we need to talk more about those situations and demonstrate and show that stuff on TV. Although some people may say it's not sexy, that will cause a lot more people to enter this space. I think we're doing our job right now by having these sort of conversations and talking about people breaking their way into, tech and how they've been able to, stay on the straight and narrow and make something of themselves versus, going the other route and ending up like the story that you use, Damien, the Tupac story. I'll turn it over to our sister Jasmine. Oh, she left the chat. All right, I was going to turn over to her real quick, but it looks like she left. Let's turn it over to you real quick, Brother Paul. What do you have on this topic, my man?
Good afternoon, good morning. Real quick, just story of redemption in that no matter how bad you screw up, you can always kind of turn it around. Because I barely got out of high school. I was in like the bottom 9th, 10th percentile of my class, flunked out of my first year of college. Came back, worked dead-end retail jobs, was working in a hardware store as an assistant manager, selling 2x4s. Then I got engaged to get married, and the reality hit me of, do I really want to try and support a family selling nails and 2x4s? Not that there's anything wrong with that, but and that's when I got serious, went back to school, did a bunch of math classes, finally got my engineering degree. This is back before I even knew what tech sales even existed as a career. But, I got in some trouble along the way before I got serious. And, it all turned out in the end. It took a lot of work to do it, but, there's always a path forward after you screw up. So that's kind of the message for anybody that's, maybe messed up a little bit, screwed up a little bit. There's always a way out. There's always a way to fix it. And that's just kind of my 2 cents on that conversation.
I love it. You're right. Ja Morant's going to bounce back fast. And the majority of us, if we don't do anything that's crazy, super crazy, right, we're going to experience some of these setbacks and things like that. I've experienced it myself. I told you guys with my 10th grade year of, having a 2.3 GPA and then having the opportunity to bounce back. The cool thing I would say was about my story is that I was able to bounce back relatively fast, unlike a lot of folks who don't get an opportunity to take themselves away from that environment that they're in, and it takes a little bit longer. But guys, you're right. Brother Paul hit it. I mean, like there's always a redemption story. It's a way that you can bounce back, and you got to put yourself in communities of people who are doing some fantastic things. I mean, like that's something that Chef Capone talked about, and it's something that Paul talked about, how he put himself through school and, having to make the adjustment to do a little bit more math classes. It's always an opportunity to do something different. I appreciate that feedback, Brother Paul.
Yeah, you got it. Have a good one.
You too. Appreciate it, man. All right. Brother Ro, you're off mute. You got anything else to add to this conversation?
Oh no, man. I'm in listening. I don't have to mute. I have a mute on my mic. So I just mute my mic.
Awesome. Guys, I'm going to turn over to the chat real quick because I know there was something that was actually said within here that I want to see if, first of all, let me hit the super chats. Mr. Governor says, hi, Mr. Wade. I love your show. Speaking of opportunity in tech, please talk about opportunities that are being opened in the tech with bank closures, especially in the space of compliance. Oh, man. I got some pretty smart people in here in this discussion here, and I don't have to take on these questions. So if your panelists who are up here today, if you want to answer some of these questions, please feel free to come off mute. The question is coming from Mr. Governor, and I appreciate the $10 super chat. He says, speaking of opportunities in tech, please talk about the opportunities that are being open in tech with bank closures, especially in the space of compliance. Anybody want to take a question like that? All right, I'll take it then. I feel like this, guys. You know what? When it comes down to bank closures and discompliance and audits and in general. Oh, did somebody say something? All right, I missed it. Okay. There's a lot of opportunities that's there, guys, from being part of the accounting team, being part of the executive team. These structures exist into corporations. What we've seen in this whole SVB and some of these other bank banks that have closed is that you have leadership that's become lackadaisical. And what you're going to see more of into these financial institutions are compliance officers that are maybe of a third party, right? That has access to see what's going on inside these companies, right? You know, maybe even the big four looking over Q4, Q1, Q3 information to really call out some of the BS that's going on. Because what ends up happening is a lot of the times in these public companies, they do have the Deloittes and the Ernst Youngs and so forth running their audits and all that stuff, but that's at a yearly basis. I think from a compliance standpoint, that's going to become more often, because by that time, after a year, it's too late. It's way too late. So when it comes down to the tech space, roles in consulting is going to be huge. And if you are a technical consultant, whether you are working with accounting software, financial software, these opportunities are going to increase, because they don't want, nobody wants to, wake up on a Friday morning, all of a sudden the bank that you have a lot of cash in, nobody wants to hear that they can't get access to their cash, especially if they're running a company. You have to run payroll. You have to wait the entire weekend to determine if you're even going to get your money or if you're going to get cents on the dollar. Nobody wants to have that level of anxiety. And this is going to create a new set of structures that will exist, that's going to dive a little bit more into what's happening in these corporations and really assess what's going on from a leadership perspective. I mean, like from the standpoint of a lot of these executives at SVB, they sold shares early on. That should be a trigger right away in compliance. Oh, why are these guys selling shares right away? Why is the CEO, the CFO all selling shares at this point in time? And maybe there's going to be some governance around, more blackout periods or something like that, where you can't sell shares when it's coming towards a end of a quarter or something along those lines. But that was a great question, though. That was a really good question that you had, Mr. Governor. And we still had some panelists that's come up as well too. And I want for Miss Jasmine to come off mute, because she came on before, and I know she had something that she wanted to say. Go ahead, come off mute, Jasmine, and share what it is that you had on this topic that we were talking about today.
Yes.
How are you today?
How's your family? Doing good. Hope you and your family are well.
Absolutely, we are.
If you hear something in the background, I'm driving.
Not a problem.
Okay, cool. But more so like on the topic of Jay Morant. Like I said in the chat, honestly, from what I've seen, he's kind of been like that. Like, been kind of, I don't want to say reckless, but unguided. And someone should have caught that when he was a child. Like, I think about my dad. My dad started this program called Homeboys because he read that book by, I think, Tawanza Kunjufu about the psychological warfare on Black boys. And I see the impact of having just one mentor or a group of men mentor young males, the impact that has on their lives. Like, I compare people in my hometown who didn't go through that rites of passage program and people who did. Totally night and day difference, So having people like yourself or like my dad or people like that are so vitally important to the community to make sure that these young men do have guidance. Because if you don't care, if you're apathetic about it, they could be the same young man that pulls up on you, and then it's like, well, yeah, what am I gonna do now? But even the parlay that into tech, a lot of people don't know what they want to do. I know I didn't. I mean, I started out biology pre-med, ended up with a degree in history, and still didn't know what I was gonna do, and was working in the call center and customer service for 10 years before I even knew about tech and whether or not this was even an option. So I know what I want to do with what the Most High has blessed me with as far as getting into tech and advancing my career. I know I want to pay it forward and encourage other people to aggregate our resources and pay it forward to other people. And really, really change some lives and make sure that these kids know that there's more to life than rapping or selling drugs or, you know, just being reckless with their energy.
I love it. I love it. And Jasmine, tell people about you breaking into the tech sales space and what you're doing now and how you were able to do such a thing. So I love your story.
Yeah, so thank you. So I actually started out in sales back in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing more like phone sales and for Verizon. Went into transportation.
Yep.
Logistics and all of that. It was okay. I didn't really like it. And transition into apartments, and that's why I love Erica so much, because so much of her story resonates with me, because I've done apartments, I've done logistics, all of that, and trucking. And then listening to her channel is what got me into tech sales. The company reached out to me, and that's why I encourage people, have your LinkedIn up to date. Have open to work on there. People reach out to you. The last two tech jobs I had, I did not even know these companies existed. You know, they reached out to me. And so we got into that in the December before I started my job. She had another tech sales guy on there. Last name Johnson. Now I remember because we got the same last name. But and I was like, this is a sign. I know that this is it, because this man is on here right when I got the job. I was like, this is it. So I got in there, worked it out, really, you know, dove in head first. I already had great soft skills, but I worked with my my manager to develop myself every day and really, you know, be hardened to rejection. Like you'll get rejected all the time. Like it's nothing. I laugh at it, to be honest. I love it now. For real. And then fast forward to August of last year is when I met you at the boat party.
Yep.
And at that time, I told you, and I'll tell you this now, I told you that I was thinking about quitting my job because I was so stressed out.
I remember that.
But I had already quit my job. I had already quit. And I was just like in such a state of just not knowing what I wanted to do. Come to find out, it wasn't the job that was stressing me out. It was other things in life. And once I shifted that, I started working at a global company. Now I work at GoTo. I'm pretty sure everybody's heard like GoTo meeting and all that.
Yep.
Now I work there and I'm killing it. Like I got named Beast of the Week for the last 2 weeks for the whole North American outbound sales team. And it's so funny because I got hired inbound at first. I'm like, I don't want to do that. Outbound. And 3 weeks after 3 weeks after I started, right after training, they moved me outbound. One of the best things I think could have ever happened to me at this company thus far. I love my manager, my team. Everything is great. Like my on-target earnings, and I was gonna put this in your video about on-target earnings.
Go ahead and tell them.
My salary is double from last. Like I'm excited. I'm about to move to Texas this year. Like it's lit. I'm grateful beyond measure. Like I'm very happy that you took the time to even speak to me. Like it's not like we all any of us. I mean, I'm pretty sure some of y'all knew each other, but the people that I've met there, like one, I mean, you know, Tam, like
yep.
That's in tech as well. I talk to her like every day, you know, and she's giving me a great blueprint. And my circle has transformed to people who are like-minded and have a vision and a blueprint to where they want to go as well. So I would encourage anybody, you know, really get serious with yourself, do a self-assessment and see where you want to go and the steps to get there. Get in the right rooms with the right people. Talk to people. Don't be afraid to talk to them. That's one thing. I'm a very gregarious person. I'm a PK. So it's nothing to talk to people. My dad did it every Sunday, you know?
Yep.
So, like, it's, you know, just don't be afraid. Like, it's just another human. whether it's face to face or over the phone. So I definitely encourage everybody to network, seek out mentors, and sometimes, and even if you don't seek out mentors, sometimes they seek out you.
That's
you know
right.
what I'm saying? And you build these amazing relationships. And you don't know where it can take you. Like I'm starting a course on not tomorrow, but Monday night, to get more data analytics training. Plus, Tam has schooled me on some free Red Hat sources and whatnot. So I'm really trying to get everything I can, like, on Mario, where you get to go to the secret world with all the coins. That's how I feel right now. I'm just trying to get all the coins.
I love it. Definitely. I love it. I love it. I appreciate the story, Jasmine, and tell people again from last year to this year what you were able to do by jumping into a new role in the outside tech sales space for your company at GoToMeeting. To tell people what you were able to do.
Double my salary.
God damn! I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much, Jasmine, for coming on and sharing your story. We got brother Scott on here as well, too. I want to give him an opportunity to say with something on the topic. I appreciate you, Jasmine. Go ahead. Come on, Scott.
Hey, what's going on? What's going on?
How are you, man?
I'm good, my brother. I'm good. Just wanted to chime in, man. I wasn't sure if I was going to say anything or not, but I just felt compelled to. I think everybody's right, man. It's all about having that influence in that circle. I grew up with both my parents in the household, but I still chose to go down the path. When I was younger, I had a whole bunch of friends that was Crips. I hung around all the time and ended up being out one day with one of my cousins, and they tried to jump us. Didn't know we had some martial arts training, so it didn't go the way they thought it was going to go. But realized at that time, like, you know what? The hell with it. Everybody thinks I'm a gang member anyway. I might as well go ahead and do it. So I chose to go down that path. And, long story short, my mother called me with a gun in the house one day and told me straight up, hey, that ain't how you was raised. We taught you better. If you get locked up, don't call her. I'm not putting my house up for you. I'm not doing that. So if you choose to go down this road, you do it. That's on you, man. Like Trey said, everybody thinks that, hey, I know how to do this. They never gonna catch me. Yeah, that did not work out in the favor I thought it was. So, I got caught up. And the thing that got me and what made me realize what I need to do was my nephew. So I got caught up, had to do my little bit of time. And when I got out, my sister came to pick me up. So I'm the baby of the family, but my younger sister, we were really close. And she had my niece and nephews in the car. And my nephews at the time were real young. They both were crying. And when I saw that, I knew what that meant. Basically, like everybody's been saying, you got people, regardless whether you realize they're not, looking up to you. And I've been shot, I've been stabbed, whole 9 fights, the whole 9 yards. And I didn't want that to happen to them. But didn't, if something ever happened to them, I would feel like it's on me because they saw Unc when I was on the high side with the old school cars, with the rims and the TVs and living a high life, having all the clothes and the whole 9 yards. And I realized at that point in time that they looking at me, seeing this, thinking this is the route they got to take. So I made a conscious effort when I was locked up. I was going to get back into my faith. I was going to find God, developed a relationship, and said, if you get me out of this, I won't ever go back to that life again. And I'm 42 years old now, have never touched the streets again. I showed my nephews a different way. Yeah, I don't make nowhere near the money I made when I was in the streets, but I don't have to worry about the cops kicking in my door. I don't have to look over my shoulder every time I go out somewhere and wonder if a rival gang member or another dope boy is going to come try to take the block. I don't have to worry about any of that no more, and my nephew saw me transform my life, get into medical and work that route, even though it wasn't the path that I chose to want to take for the rest of my life. But they saw that you don't have to go down that path and do all that and have the gold grills and do this and do that to be cool. You can be yourself. And so, meeting people like you and getting into it and having the conversations that we've had and helping me realize that I don't have to stay in the medical field since I'm not happy with it anymore. And I can pivot and transition at the age of 42. and getting into the tech and, you know, joining course careers and starting to go down that path and trying to learn how to go through it as a technical learner, a tactile learner. It's been a little bit challenging for me to watch video courses and try to learn the material since I'm a hands-on person.
Yep.
But I'm damn determined to make it happen because I want to see my family succeed. And my youngest nephew is actually taking to it himself. He built his first computer based off of conversation that me and him had and talked about tech, and now he's getting into tech as well, and he's wanting to do something with tech in his life. So that, you know, brings a smile on my face and lets me know that I did something right. You know, they saw that I transitioned from the street life, and I've told them this ain't the life. It ain't always corrected to be, because when Aunt got locked up, all those talks that you had in the groups, you know what I'm saying, we're gonna hold you down, we're gonna have your back. Not one person came to visit me when I was locked up. One person. All my homies and, you know what I'm saying, all the my guys that was supposed to hold me down and write letters and all that, not one person reached out to me.
Wow.
And when I got out, I didn't bother to go see anybody and told everybody, the people that I did see, this ain't me. Nobody wanted to look out for me when I was down. So now that I'm back out, there's no sense in even reaching out. I don't need y'all. I don't want y'all. You do your thing. I'm gonna do my thing. But y'all already know how I get down. So ain't gonna be no coming to me on no sideways stuff and it's gonna be this, it's gonna be that. Y'all know how I get down. So it's your choice.
Wow.
But you know, I chose to leave that life alone, and I've struggled, but it was the best choice I've ever made, because now I get to see my nephews flourish in something and know that they don't have to go that path. And because of people like you in my life and Brother Damien, Brother PPO, I've got mentors now that my father's gone to show me things and help keep me on the straight and narrow path. And I've got people to live for. And that's what I'm doing now is making that transition. And I'm going to show the world that, you know what I'm saying, I'm coming for it. I'm just like the new name says, it's going to be the Operation Tech Takeover. I'm going to take his game over, and we're going to make this happen.
I love it. I love it, Scott. And something that you said, sir. You said, I'm not making the money that I was making when you were in the streets. Man, that's going to change, Scott. Like, that's the piece of it that, you know, a lot of people just don't get. That's going to change significantly. To stay on the path, and before you know it, you will be. Trey, come off the mic real quick, and just give some words of encouragement, if you can, to our brother Scott on how you were able to just quickly, how you were able to change, you know, your money situation in a short amount of time, if you don't mind, sir.
Yeah, no, I definitely don't mind. And one thing I'll say for sure is, Scott, you know, the stuff that we were talking about earlier, you know, whether it's one-to-one or one-to-many, the story that you just told, man, the amount of impact that one story could have, because you actually were in that life, like you did it. The stuff that they're thinking about doing, you were there, you firsthand, and you saw what it could do on both sides. And so, you know, whether that's, like I said, one-to-one, or if you decide to share that on a platform and really let that story out, you can help so many people just kind of make that change. I mean, people who are currently in the light, because, you know, like I said earlier, if you talk to a lot of those guys, they don't want to do that, right? So, and you will have more impact than somebody like me who, hey, I was around it, but I never did any of it. But somebody who did and still lived to tell the tale, that you'll be able to allow them to feel more comfortable to make a difference and to make a change. And then as far as you know, getting through the course and things like that, someone spoke to it earlier. You know, you see what everyone else is doing and what everyone else, how fast they were able to do it. Comparison is the thief of joy. That's a real statement. You know, it's a quote, but it's real. You know, so one thing about it is that, you know, stay down your path and get it done in the way that you need to get it done. Everyone learns different, right? So if you got to go, like I know me, when it comes to reading, sometimes, man, I have to go over, I'll read a paragraph and then I got to read it again. I'm like, man, I don't remember what I
That's
just
me
read,
too,
but
man.
yeah, man. So, it is like that sometimes. So everyone learns different. Just the main thing is just make sure you get the information, and then once you get it, apply it. But you definitely, you have more than enough time, right? I think there's like over 300 and some thousand positions open right now that companies are actively looking for individuals to come in and do their thing. So, there's no rush, right? Like, just get it done and you will see the fruits of your labor within time. The thing is, they do call it fast money for a reason. It comes in fast and it leaves fast when you're in the streets, right?
You
That's
got
how they
that
can.
right, brother. You got
Yeah,
that right.
yeah. It comes in fast, but it also leaves fast. So, now it is coming in a little slower, right? It is a little lower, but as we just heard, over time, it can compound. And then you get around the right individuals who, hey, you ever thought about parking money in this real estate? And, in real estate, you ever thought about moving? And then before you know it, now you're getting drug money without the drugs.
And hit on how people can get to the drug money without the drugs, without sharing too much, but it's shared, man.
Oh, listen, man, I did the same thing you did, and I went through the course, and I got a job. But all I did was share my journey online, and listen. First of all, my salary, I made that in the first quarter. My whole salary that I have at the job, I made that in the first quarter, right? I have $70,000 to date, but that's in cash, right? Because I don't have a lot of overhead. So that's just what I've done right now. And all I did was share my story and share and try to help others be able to make that decision to make a change. And so that's what I would say. I mean, that's what happened for me. I was right at 40,000 before that. And now, everything has changed.
Yeah. In a short amount of time, Scott. So, Trey brought up a very good point that I want all of us to just remember. We all have a story, and we're all going to impact people in our own ways, whether it's the one-on-one, like Brother Trey said, and Brother Billy said, and Brother Damien said, or how they were impacted by certain people, or whether it's through the masses. Know that having a platform can allow for you to grow beyond your belief. And this is coming from somebody who dreamed of, at one point in time, outside of being a W-2 employee, of just making an extra $300 a month on my own, to now I'm upset when I don't make $900 in addition to my W-2 job a day. Okay. And that can happen in such a short amount of time, Scott, that and it can go beyond that. Just imagine the compounding effect on that as well. Right. And those are conversations that we can have as, we continue to build out this platform and so forth. But being in tech, and specifically around the sales, it opens you up to a lot of things. And a part of our journey, especially, our stories, is to give that to other people. And you can do that on a small scale. You can do it on a massive scale. If you do it on a massive scale, as having a platform, that means you have more reach. And ultimately, people are going to pay to hear how you ultimately did something within your career. And ultimately, that's, an opportunity for you to help more people, but it does come at a fee. So it's opportunity to put, make a living for yourself in addition to what you're doing for your corporate job. And that's how I've been able to hit the goals that I've always wanted to hit within my career, both personally and impacting people outside of work. and also making the money that I always wanted to make outside of work as well too, or in addition to it, right? So, you said something that I just wanted, to discuss really quickly is you're not making that money now as it was when you were in the streets. I'm gonna tell you like this: within a matter of months, Scott, that can be completely not true, right? So to stay on your journey, understand that it's coming, right? Have belief into it, and that you have mentors and role models that can help you get there. I had an opportunity to meet one of the biggest financial influencers that's on YouTube today. You guys may know him by AO, Mr. Anthony O'Neill. I got an opportunity to meet him, and he's doing some wonderful things. And he's, the same is he has a very similar story to many of us. And he's doing, big numbers, and, his situation changed overnight as well too. Right. So just know that it can happen. And, you just have to put in the work and get there. And that's what I'm encouraging many of us, and why I'm encouraging many of us to get into the tech space, because there's a path that we can blaze that doesn't require all the additional headaches of looking over your shoulders and, Trey said, grabbing the steering wheel a little bit tighter when you see a cop or anything like that. No, you're just living a normal life, having a good time, and taking care of the people that you care about. So just know that that's around the corner for you, my man. That's around the corner for you, man. What you got on that, Scott? Anything else you wanted to say, my man?
No, like I said, I just appreciate the community, man. Like I said, when I lost my father a few years ago, that was my rock. I mean, we lost him in 2017. So, it's been a rough transition not having that male role model, in my life anymore. But finally, like I said, brothers like you, Brother PBO, Brother Damien, saying y'all have all poured into me, and planted seeds into me. So yeah, I'm not stopping, man. This is just the beginning. I'm gonna fight through it. I've watched Brother Trey's story. I've connected with him on LinkedIn. So I mean, I've been watching different people in the course career. So I'm just blessed to be a part of the Black Heights community, man. Appreciate all the talks that we've had, and just like I said, just different people. Miss Della, she's been a big help to me too. And we've had a couple conversations. So I'm just thankful, man, that you decided to do this platform, and that you're bringing people together and letting people of our color, and not even just necessarily Black people, but just people of different ethnicities see what's possible and what we can do, and that it's not just the typical norm of you got to be a dope boy, you got to be an athlete, you got to be this. There's other ways to make a living, an honest living, and live the life that you want to live. So I'm just grateful for you, for Mrs. Wade, and just for the platform. But just happy to be a part of this and making the connections and friendships that I've always wanted to have. So just thank you for doing this, my bro.
Appreciate it, man. I appreciate it, Brother Scott, man. Keep at it, my man. Keep at it. And thank you so much for you being part of the community as well and sharing your story, my man. I appreciate it. Guys, you know what? It's already 12:43. I'm getting texts by Ms. Wade saying it's time for lunch, man. Let's do this before we wrap it up. I'll turn it over to see if Brother Rowe or Brother Trey or Brother Damien have any more. His brother Scott just gave us a fantastic story and a testimony, and I appreciate that. But I want to turn over to Brother Trey or Brother Damien or Brother Billy to if they have any last words for the audience today before we all jet out and go about our day spending time with the family. Brother Damien, anything from you, sir?
No, everybody just stay focused. Have a good weekend.
Love it. Short to the point, my man. I love it. Brother Rowe, what about you, sir?
See, Damien, why you do that? Now I can't be short to the point. No, I'm playing. No, I love Scott's story. I love Jasmine's story. I think it comes down to really the fact of no matter what it is you want to do, whether it's in tech, in finance, and wherever you want to go, it's going to come down to doing the work. And I think that's what happens a lot of the times with fast money is we see the sexiness of fast money, and the in order to achieve that money on the longer road, it takes work, and that's not as sexy. But just be focused, and I would love to keep you encouraged, Scott. Just be focused on your progress. It's not about doing it all today, but it's about doing something each day. So stay focused on that. Stay focused on the work that's going to drive that result. And eventually one day you're going to look up and you'll be having the same story that Trey has. Hey, look, I doubled my salary. You'll have the same story as Jasmine. I doubled my salary. I tripled my salary. You'll have that story if you stay focused on the work and realize that it's about progress, not about hitting it all in one quick go. It's not the same as being in the streets and pulling a lick. So that would be my closing thoughts. Just focus on good progress, and eventually the good results will follow.
Love it. You know, Brother Rowe's going to come with something profound right there, my man. I appreciate you, brother. Guys, go and check out Brother Billy Rowe on First Row on YouTube. Fantastic content creator, always giving leadership, financial advice, friendship, relationship advice. Check him out on YouTube on First Row, at First Row. Brother Trey, I know you're going to hang out with the wife rest of the day. Anything else you want to leave us with, my man?
No, man. Just, I guess everyone has said everything already. You know, something that I say often, life does not give us what we need. It gives us what we deserve. So the goal is to go out and deserve the things that we need. Sometimes it might seem like others have it easier, and they probably do, right? Sometimes their family might have put them in the position to get to it a lot faster than you, or whatever the case may be. So just go out and be that person in your life and for your family, so that they can start off in a different position and be able to, get the things that they need faster and easier. But one thing it does, it starts with a choice, a decision. And we have to decide that, hey, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make it happen by any means. And just put those blinders on, just like the horses in the horse race, put those blinders on and get to the finish line. And then, create another finish line after that. Because if you get complacent, then nothing lasts forever. But so I'll just say that, we got this. Everyone who's here, you're here for a reason. You're here to continue to grow and learn and get better at your craft. So there's a lot of people who wouldn't think about being on this show as far as watching it and learning and growing at this time on this Saturday, right? They probably still have hangovers or whatever the case may be. You're different. You're actually actively trying to get something done, and you're going to get there just for that. So that's what I'll say. Keep moving, keep pushing forward.
I appreciate you, Brother Trey. I appreciate you guys. And go and check out Brother Tech Bag Trey on YouTube as well. Fantastic content creator over there helping you guys get to the money, because he's getting to the money, man. I think Tech Bag Trey making more money than I am, man. You know I'm broke, but
man, no, you crazy. You got that back. You got that major back.
You go and check him out on Tech Bag Trey on YouTube. Fantastic content creator, guys. And guys, thank you so much for coming on the panel. Thank you so much for sharing your stories today. Jasmine, Kamal, Trey, Damian, Billy, Scott, who else came on? I'm missing some names on here, but guys, thank you so much for sharing your stories today. And I appreciate each and every one of you, and enjoy the rest of your Saturday with your friends and family. And until next time, y'all, peace. Guys, you know what? This was one of those shows to I had no idea how this show was going to turn out. It was a absolute blast. One of those shows that I'm starting to get comfortable with talking about subjects that are a dive a little bit into the tech space, but also dive outside of it into the real world of impact, right? And And obviously it's impactful, because when you guys are here and you sit here and watch it and you listen to people's stories, it's absolutely fantastic, right? So as I am getting comfortable navigating these discussions, I will have more and more of these shows. So and sprinkle a little bit more of what's the common topics of today into these shows. So I appreciate each and everyone for being here. Brother Damien's in the house. I appreciate you, brother Wayman's in the house. Miss Wade, thank you so much for always showing up. Mrs. Tamara Wade, thank you so much for being here. My sister, Journey to Jasmine's in the house. I appreciate you for coming on and sharing your story as well. Brother D Love is in the house. The Life of Cam is in the house. You know what? And I gotta make sure I get the super chats. And I totally, guys, thank you so much for the super chats. I gotta get better at that too. Brother Wayman with a $5 super chat says, "Good to catch you live, sir, and big up to your channel growth. Thanks for being a resource." I love it. Thank you so much, brother Wayman, for coming through. Brother Aston, great show, BH. A great reminder to stay disciplined. Be mindful of your inner circle and hold responsibility for your actions. I love it. Absolutely. Appreciate that. Brother Deuce X Machina, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. As an adult, you have to separate entertainment from reality. You can listen to hip hop and still work a regular job. Absolutely. Absolutely. Brother Damien, thank you so much for $5 super chat. As a young man, I was a fan of athletes, but my role models were my dad and other men around me. I love that. I absolutely love that. Rich Turner came to the house, said, "On the wood, good brother." I love it. I love it, man. Guys, thank you so much again for your time. Fantastic show. And we will catch up later. Peace out.